Hey, welcome to the Linux channel. So past couple of days I was working on a new project and I thought it is interesting so that I can share across the viewers of this channel as well. So I was doing some kind of consolidation of my lab because I have various devices spread across. Some I'm using like this laptop where sometimes I just use it because it is much compact. You have its own monitor, keyboard and things like that. All you need to do is sometimes if you need an extra Ethernet port, you can connect any USB to Ethernet adapter and then you can use the same. And besides, I do use my main desktop system as my build and production system, and also as well as for editing these YouTube videos. And apart from that, I use sometimes a couple of more laptops and then some couple of mini PCs and things like that. So I thought let me consolidate everything, and then I build an entire lab setup in a sort of VirtualBox VM arrangement. So that's what I was trying to get. And besides that, I was also thinking what kind of operating system distribution I can use. I mean, what sort of Linux distribution I can use for specific tasks, because I was using Ubuntu, but I feel down the lane at various cases, depending on a specific use case, a different distribution is much more suited. Say for example, take an example like video editing purpose. So what I see is in Ubuntu, the Kden Live and couple of the tools I use, I edit, I build entire videos. I do produce them only with Linux. I don't use any other software, either in a Windows system or Mac OS based system or something. I just edit these videos in the same system. So what I did is what I face issue is I'm also facing issues like you edit these videos in Ubuntu, and sometimes I do upgrade the Ubuntu setup, and once I do an upgrade, it's having a strange issue that the new updated one, the Kden Live, whatever it installs, it behaves in a different way. Sometimes its look and feel also changes, and then it takes some time to adapt towards the same. So I took a drastic step. I started using a beautiful Linux distribution called Solus, but having said that, I can't use it as a primary desktop operating system. So what I did is I built all these virtual machines. Hope you can see here. So I have done various device installations depending on its purpose. I have chosen the Linux distribution and sometimes even a different operating system as well. So it's an entire network and an entire lab, and a couple of them are real production servers within this main host system. So this way I can have much complicated scenarios, and it has been nicely interlinked so that you get the functionality as a real physical setup. So each has a designated role. So let me just quickly walk through what I have created. So you can see here I have created groups called I have created groups, some of the groups, and I categorized these VMs into a specific group based on a specific task. So you can see here there's a group called servers, and there's also a group called network appliances and template VMs and test VMs, and as well as I have a separate dedicated group for entire Toffee data center test lab and build setup. So you can see here these are my servers. So this is a primary video production server. So this video onwards I'm going to edit in this VM, not in the host system. It is going to take some more time, maybe 30% or 20% more time than a standard directly installed operating system install. But having said that, you get that functionality of core video production installed operating system with the same, and as well you may get away with any driver issues and things like that. So let me just boot and show you guys. Let me just start the same. So once it is booted, you will understand exactly why this fits to be a dedicated video production server. So there's a choice in future down the lane. In case if I get a dedicated PC, I can install this in that dedicated PC, and till then I don't have either space in my home, so that I can use in this way, and I can have a dedicated environment for that purpose alone. So this is a Solus VM. So let it boot. It takes some couple of minutes. So below that I have a dedicated MySQL server. As you can see here, it shows the preview that it is booted. So I can go here and then I can log in into the same. So I can have options like I can press Ctrl F and it shows in the full screen, and then you get the view like any other installed operating system in a PC. So you get that standard look and feel. So you can see here how beautiful it works. So this is the video editing software I use called as Kdenlive. So it is still trying to complete the booting process, and as well as bringing up the network interfaces and stuff like that. So it is internally connected with a network which is built internally. So you can see here, this is where I can do video editing in this dedicated setup. So you can compare this versus over here, which is in the host OS. The problem lies in Kdenlive in Ubuntu, because each time you update or change anything in Ubuntu, it completely changes, and certain things works and certain things stop working, and sometimes it may even crash. So I'm really not sure why the Kdenlive behaves this way, but I don't use any other tool other than Kdenlive, so I just need a very reliable setup for the same. So you can see the difference between this versus, let me close the same, versus this. So this is the reason I kept this as a dedicated video production server. So we can just close the same and we can turn off this device. So you can see it's just cool. In case if you guys are thinking about a desktop Linux distribution which suits your needs, not like a core device. One issue you can find with the Solus is you can't install VirtualBox in the same. So I thought of using this as my primary host operating system, but I was unable to do the same. So I'm retaining again Ubuntu for the same purpose. So I can shut down the same. Anytime if I need internal network, you can use the NAT feature in VirtualBox, but in this case I'm using an internal network with pfSense router. So I can I can show the topology what I'm trying to do over here down the lane in this video. So this is my dedicated pfSense router. So let us boot in the same. So it's containing an entire network within this VM setup, so that you can do various topologies within the same. You can do various test scenarios. It's almost what I want to achieve is I want to achieve something like a sort of blade server setup. So in this case, down the lane I want to use the main host operating system like a empty chassis, so it will have very limited features. I can just do some basic browsing and file copying operation and stuff like that. Sometimes I can get the backups and then I can push it to the NAS, stuff like that. But rest of the times I can start using each individual VM for that dedicated purpose. So next we can see here pfSense is booted and it shows the IP addressing scheme in the same. So pfSense, what I have done is there are totally two interfaces. One, I am retaining the standard NAT which you can see here, the setting. It has this NAT, and the next it has this internal network, and this internal network spreads across. So if you plot it down, it comes somewhat like this. You have this router with pfSense. I hope the camera focuses the same. Let me use a bit darker pen so that it adds some amount of contrast. So I have this pfSense router. So hope you can see here. So what it has is what it does is, this is my entire VM arrangement. So this connects to the external world with the NAT interface. So with this I get the internet over here, and it will get distributed over here in this internal network. So in the internal network I can now connect any of my VMs to the same. So this way I have multiple VMs. I can do a software upgrade. I can reach internet through this pfSense VM router, and then now I can also configure any firewalls if I need in this pfSense router. So sometimes there are cases that I have. Here is the tricky situation. So there are cases like this situation over here. In this case, there is a Toffee data center VM. This is also going to be a test as well as a development device. So it is the entire, in the future I may do development within the VM alone, in this specific VM alone. So this one is a Ubuntu 16.04 LTS server with XFCE version 4 GUI interface. So if I boot this, let me just boot the same, you get a standard Ubuntu interface in the same. So this is a very unique system, because this is going to also work as network appliance. So in that case it will work like a standard WAN opt device, in case if I configure the same, once I do coding and then I do an installation, and when I test I can do the same, and this works like a network appliance. And to this there are also a couple of systems I can connect, and I can almost emulate a remote WAN connectivity, and if needed I can also have a Toffee Mocha within the same, and I can insert a Toffee Mocha and I can introduce a certain WAN simulation features like packet delay, packet drops and stuff like that, and I can check how far things happens within the Toffee data center WAN optimization in this scenario. So let me just boot the same. So once it is booted, it gets into X Windows system. So you can see I have fully customized, and this is a sort of lightweight installation of the same. So I have done a lot of customization so that it looks almost like a proper server with limited GUI interface options, or GUI connectivity as well. The reason I need GUI for this is sometimes you can do Wireshark packet capture, sometimes you can analyze directly, and also you can provision or configure over here directly. So that's the objective of putting a GUI across these devices. And also I can do a software build. For the same I have installed this Bluefish editor or IDE. So with the same I can do the software development. So you can see here I can start Toffee data center, and then I can configure, and then I can have a look the performance charts and stuff like that. I can do various scenarios in this device. So I can do both development, and I can use the same system as a test VM. So other than that, if you see here, this is a test PC. So currently it is connected via this internal network. So it is connecting through this Toffee data center system. So this way what happens is, whatever packets are going to the internet or getting from my external LAN. So this is my physical LAN, where this system is connected through the Ethernet cable, and it is connected to my Wi-Fi router, and eventually it terminates to external internet. So this way I am trying to retain the same functionality what I had it earlier in my physical lab. So I'm not anymore losing any functionality, and besides I can configure many more systems than before, as long as this system can tackle the amount of computational power involved. So this way what happens is, the packets will go through this Toffee data center system, and then they go through the pfSense router, and then eventually they go out of this host operating system box as so eventually it goes to the physical LAN, and then that packets will go out, and from out they can come into the same. So this is my test PC. So you can see here it's having 2 ports, and this has 2 ports. The one port, it is connected to iNet, intnet, which is the internal network. So this internal network is one of the ports this pfSense has also got. So you can see one is a NAT port, one is this internal network intnet, and to the other port it is connecting the internal network. So this is my internal network, intnet. So I hope camera is able to capture the same. So this, it is connected to this bus or whatever it is. So this is my internal network, so that this is connected to this internal network, and then to the other side it has this internal network named as a network toffee device to device. So this means either I can even connect another toffee system over here, and then below that I can connect any test PCs, but in this case I don't have secondary toffee device. So in this case directly I have created a secondary device called as PC2, and it is connected to this toffee device. So this is one of the systems, and I have also have some test VMs just to study. So since I am very new to FreeBSD, I am trying to learn FreeBSD kernel source especially, and also some of the components of FreeBSD. So I have an independent FreeBSD system like so, and it is connected to this router. So you can see here it is not yet configured. Currently it says NAT. I can even configure through this router, and then I can just get that connectivity. So this is one thing, and apart from that I have also these template VMs, because anytime in case I need one more system like this, you can see here I need something like Solus, an empty system, a template or something. I can use this, I can do a clone, and then I can get one more system, and then I can further customize and use it for that dedicated purpose. So I have some couple of template VMs. So this is a template VM. With this template VM I created these 2 devices, and then these 2 are further customized for that specific purpose. So this way I have these couple of template VMs, and other than that this is my firewall. So what I did is I have done this grouping with various names. So with that grouping it gives you a sort of discipline that and also some way you can conceptualize and visualize what is your lab setup is all about. So without that it looks like set of discrete VMs, and it confuses you. The main thing it always haunts me about virtualization is it's just quite confusing than you deal with physical systems as well. So this way you need some amount of discipline. So you can see here you can do this way, and you can just expand or contract whichever you want to have a look. So for example we can go here and we can just shut down this VM. Let me just shut down this VM, and let me just go over here. This is my test MySQL database server. So it's a very dedicated database server which I use it for some home accounting and stuff like that. So this I just need somewhere, and I can put contact phone numbers and few things I just maintain over here. So it's just a miscellaneous database server which I use it for my personal use. It's almost like my phone directory, or it may also have address and important contact numbers, and it may also have some amount of personal data and things like that. So I have it in this private server. So let me just do a quick start, and let me give an idea about this pfSense router, so that you can understand how I have configured the router. So you can see once again this has a single port which is connecting to this intnet, which is the internal network. So you can assume this MySQL database server is connected directly to this pfSense FreeBSD based router. So this is connected, and then through that it gets that internet connectivity. So I also need this way so that I can configure this pfSense router remotely, because the router is like headless. You can't much configure without any GUI access. You can just do this primitive command line access, but it doesn't have any extensive GUI. So this is the reason I need that. So it's booted. Let's just boot into the same. So it is getting into the X Windows system. So what I did is I installed Ubuntu server, and then I have installed XFCE4, and then I configured in bash profile to start StartX once you do a login access. So it starts the same, and we can go to the browser, and we can access our pfSense virtual router through the same. So in case you want to configure, you can also do the same through this interface. So 192.168.8.1. So this is my private network. So which is this entire internet is in this gateway for this router over this side is 192.168.8.1, whereas the external physical LAN is 192.168.0.1 or 0.0/24. So this way, in this case it is 8.0/24. So this is my internal network subnet within this VM. So let me log in the same. So you can see here it shows the entire configuration of pfSense router. So you can see, and I can do any configuration in the same, and you can see the two ports. You can see the WAN port, since it is connected via NAT interface of the VirtualBox, it is getting this sort of private IP. Eventually it anyway will be able to reach the external internet. So the other side I have configured this static IP, which is also I have configured its DHCP. Apart from that, I have also configured this DHCP server, and you can see here this is the subnet, and it starts in this range 8.100 and till 8.200, and it also provides this gateway as 192.168.8.1 to this connected systems. So this is the reason, if you go here, this is the MySQL DB server. So you go here, and if you do ifconfig, so it says 192.168.8.104. so this, it is getting this DHCP address through this pfSense router. So this is my basic setup. So down the lane this week I may need to configure some more VMs. It's not all these VMs I'm running simultaneously. One of my students asked actually, it's like, how many VMs I'm running simultaneously. It's not a question of how many I'm running simultaneously. I don't run same time more than some couple of VMs, or else at the max some 3 VMs. So it's not about that. What I need is, I need that segregation, so that I can work, I can allocate each device for that dedicated task, and then I can focus in case if something happens to the system, if system crashes, or we also have this issue like any data corruption or something like that. It just takes very less time. I can have these entire VMs. I have this, by the way, I have taken all these VMs a backup in my NAS, and also it has another backup I have taken in an external hard drive. So with this arrangement, what happens is, if something happens, I can just quickly do a reinstall and install VirtualBox, and then copy back these VMs into the same host OS installation, and then get these things up once again. So it just takes very minimal time. So this is also an idea of consolidating the entire stuff in this way. So hope you guys loved watching this video. In case if you also looking forward to build any lab, this is very important for students, because if you are started working on network software development and network protocol development, Sometimes you may work in a very small company, they may not have a good infrastructure to work with, and sometimes you may not get the entire range of devices to work with. So in that case, have a setup like this, and don't try to configure a regular system, Linux system as a router, Linux system as a firewall or something like that, in case you need it for a production use. So this is the reason I'm using pfSense, because it is a purpose built free BSD just to do routing, and just to act like a router, and just to do a dedicated firewalling stuff. So use something like this, and of course you are trying to learn to do a Linux based routing device. You can configure a device, a dedicated device, like a Linux based bridge. You can do those things, but don't use it as a sort of production system as such. Use something like this so that you get the extreme reliability, and as well as it's just purpose built. You can see here how easy it is to set up. So once you set up the same, the work is over. You can focus on other things in terms of maintaining your lab. So maintain it. You can also do software upgrades periodically. It's like almost you are having multiple systems as well. So right now you can see, which is the reason I have compared it with this sort of blade server. So I worked long back extensively on this blade server, so we can understand like what is the sort of advantage it gives you. It gives you an entire server consolidation. It gives you an advantage of data center consolidation within this small package. So that is what we are trying to achieve, because those days you don't have processors with multiple cores. At the max they used to have 4 cores, but these days even this desktop system have 12 cores. And if it happens to a case that you have a Xeon based server with dual CPU support, so you get 2 CPUs, each with 6 to 12 cores. So you can imagine how many cores you get. So you can imagine really how many VMs you can run in such an environment. So in that case, you can have a setup like this. You can almost fairly build an extremely complicated, extremely diversified setup within a specific VM environment like this, so that you can have even multiple islands of subnets, and you can connect them via this multiple routers, and then you can have an entire simulation setup in this way. So you can do various things. It's just it's up to your imagination. So hope you guys loved watching this video. Thank you for tuning in. Have a nice day. Bye bye.